So you've a couple of times said, let's do a podcast. And I was asking, well, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, I just want to talk.
I mean, there's so much stuff we could talk about. I just don't even necessarily know where to start. But
Go ahead.
I feel like let's talk about how we're all children running around in adult bodies if we haven't done work. And even if we have done the work, it still continues to flare up if we have trauma.
What flares up? Remember, you're speaking from a lifetime of experience. Break it down real simple. When you say that we're children in adult bodies.
Do you want to use like the last 6 months of our relationship as an example?
Shit.
Well, actually,
let's get personal, folks.
Get 9 months. Like, I've been going through a lot of inner child work. And in our relationship, I have been showing up like an annoyed little 5-year-old.
A petulant little child. An adorable little child, don't get me wrong. But so, I mean, you've been going through something, and I recognize that. We talked about it often. Sometimes I just let you have your moment and throw your tantrum. But when you say childlike, like I think part of the goal of being a human is to remain childlike.
Yeah.
But you're not talking about the awe and wonder of being a child. You're talking about being stuck due to trauma.
Yeah, because I mean, studies say that the first 7 years of a child's life will show who they are going to be as adults. So like you can see all the patterns that children have and how they show up. And that then translates into adulthood unless they do some work to change or shift those.
Grow through it.
Yeah, because basically what are we doing? Programming our children like dogs. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but in some ways.
Potty train my kids.
Like, look at, like, how do you speak to your children? How do you ignore your children?
How do children speak till they're adults?
Yeah, how do your kids speak to you? Do they respect you? Do they...
Me specifically?
No, I'm just saying, like...
Oh, yeah, because mine have been taught to respect me, otherwise
right.
They get the fist. I'm kidding. It was a belt. I'm kidding. It was the fist. Go on.
It's the frying pan, let's be real.
Yeah, it's the cast iron. Really, things changed when you got me that first cast iron. I appreciate it. So trauma-informed experience. You're talking about how people live on the day-to-day. What their experiential life is. And, you know, we just had a meeting today about potentially doing a workshop for an organization because people aren't getting along as adults. And I sat across and thinking, this sounds so childlike, so childish. But I'm like, great, this is what I love doing, is helping people through that. But the first 7 years, tell me what you know about the first 7 years and why that's so important. You brought that up. Tell me more about that.
So if the child is able to feel safe and supported and regulate to their caregivers, specifically their mother, they're going to have a healthier capacity to move forward in life. If they have a mother who's emotionally absent, or Mom, I love you, but I'm putting you on blast right now, is my mom grew up in a family where there was a lot of, from what I've heard and I guess how I've interpreted it, is there was just like negativity and anger. So like she always wanted to instill positivity in me, which is awesome. Love that. But the other side of that was I felt like whenever I was having bad emotions, that they weren't welcome. And my mom and I feel like maybe my family in general, like it was very much about, like, I being an empath could feel one thing, but I was being told something else.
So your like internal knowledge was different than the external.
Yeah, for example, my mom was sad, but she's like, I'm okay, I'm fine. But like I could feel something different. So as a small child,
mixed signals.
It was such mixed singles.
Mixed singles. Now, if kids are dating at that age, yeah, the singles are. You're talking about basically cognitive dissonance. You experience one thing outwardly, but inwardly it didn't match, and so it was at conflict. That's one of the standard definitions of cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah, I guess if that's the definition of it, and trying to figure out, and then navigating that as an adult of like, I don't understand what emotions are other than anger and happiness and sadness. But there's such an array. Like this morning when I came out and I was like, I feel so fragile and raw by looking at the chart of
She
emotions.
literally looked at the refrigerator chart that we have that has a list of, a couple hundred emotions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes that because as you do work with our kids, one of the really important, how do I put that? One of the most impactful things is getting them to label what they're feeling.
Yeah.
It's been like a magic trick. They're in the back of the car or whatever, screaming and throwing a fit. And you just start listing off emotions, and when you hit one, they're like, yeah! And then they calm the F down. And I'm like, what witchcraft is this? Who are you, and where did this come from? Because, identifying it seems to be such a critical role.
Because it's that emotional regulation that so many of us didn't grow up with. And then we're able to share that with the kids of being like, oh, is this what you're feeling? And validating them, right? They're feeling validated. How many adults never feel validated? Because in their childhood...
Well, you didn't even let me answer. Now I don't feel validated. Sorry, go on.
Because in childhood, they were never validated for those feelings. They were made to feel wrong. They were made to feel bad. For example, when we were at the library the other day, and that dad walked out with the little girl over his shoulder, and he's like, you're such a bad girl. You're such a bad girl.
Yeah, you and I both wanted to go jump up and rescue her.
And the poor kid was probably just overwhelmed or whatever.
Or tired or something.
Yeah, whatever happened, but he's shaming this poor child. That's the patterns that are getting instilled into us as adulthood. I can almost guarantee you that child, when she gets older, if somebody hasn't corrected that behavior, she's going to be like, I'm a bad girl.
And by behavior, you mean the father's behavior.
Right.
If somebody doesn't go, you're not a bad kid, it's just you were acting in a way that wasn't what we expected in the scenario.
Acceptable. Yeah.
And so, but you're to undo, you're a bad kid because of she was probably 2, maybe?
Maybe 3.
2 or 3, and she was throwing a fit. Like, calling a kid bad because they're having emotions seems like a major fucking problem.
And what do you think she's going to do in the future? She doesn't want to be exiled from the rest of the family and her friends. So she's just going to suck it up and hold it in and then get rheumatoid arthritis because she held in all of her emotions. Okay, that was maybe a little dramatic.
A little personal there.
But, I mean, that's part of it is if your emotions last for, like 90 seconds to like 2 minutes. If you just let that flow through you, it just moves through you. But so often we want to hold on to it, we ruminate on it, we think about it, instead of just letting it move through us.
We judge it probably because moments like we saw with that dad and that little girl, and if you're watching this, step up your game, dude.
Love and compassion to you. I'm sure you've had your own experiences throughout life.
But if you're watching, understand that what has to happen is you have to not put judgment and label on a kid for having an experience. Now, if there's a behavioral situation, that's different. But a 3-year-old isn't going to have behavioral issues unless there's something significantly wrong. Like, that's just a parenting situation.
Well, and think about that. I'm guessing, and I could be completely wrong, but this is my guess, is that the dad was feeling embarrassed by the kid being loud and obnoxious in the library. So he was feeling like a bad dad and putting that on his kid.
Right. He couldn't be a bad dad, so he removed her from the quiet place, the library, which, by the way, that was the kids section of the library. It's never quiet in there. Like, kids are kids, and they actually encourage that. There's no librarian in there, by the way. Shout out to Scottsdale Public Library. You rock.
We love you.
We totally love you. Like, nobody in there is saying, shut that kid up. Like, it's meant for kids. So you're probably right, and we don't know.
I don't know what happened before. I just was walking through.
Right, and this is pure speculation to say this guy had his own emotions, and then put it on his kid because he hasn't done the work. I'm assuming
Right.
that's where you say this goes.
Because how many times have I been out with the girls by myself or with you? Probably more so when I'm by myself with them. And like I'll be sitting in Sprouts for like 10 minutes as Kendall cries and has a total like meltdown.
Shout out to Kendall.
Yeah. And I just sit there on the floor with her and I'm like, all right, well, let's sit and feel this. And people are walking by me, probably judging. Some people are like, wow, that's awesome that you're sitting there with her. But like,
who cares what they think?
Yeah, I don't care what they think because the only thing that matters in that moment is making sure that one, she feels validated, and two, that she's able to process what she needs to process through. And so if that takes a minute or 10 minutes, I'm going to sit there with her and have that moment and not try to like drag her out of the situation because then I'm feeling frustrated. And it also helps me regulate too of like, okay, I'm just going to sit down with her and breathe on the ground.
Yeah. Having been a single parent, I can say without a doubt that time will kick you in the gut and you think you have to something in a certain amount of time frame just because. There is something about being a parent that makes you feel like, oh, no, this isn't the time. If the kid's having a fit, this is what I learned a little too late, is like you just said, sit with them. What's 10 minutes?
Yeah.
10 minutes for a lifetime of not breaking a child at this moment is nothing compared to the, I don't know how many fucking cars I've bought for therapists over the years, just how much I paid in therapy. But the idea of expanding that time frame of, okay, she needs something or he needs something, let's just sit with this for a minute. And like you said, and usually it's probably nothing. Like it could just be they stub their toe and don't know how to, what, it could be something minor, but giving that time will allow you to, A, potentially just have it fade away, but it also lets the kid feel safe that you aren't going to make something negative out of this and put it on them, and they can then express other emotions. So as they get a better vocabulary and they grow, they can communicate about it. Because that's why kids cry, is they can't communicate.
Right. And I mean, I can only imagine how many...
And other reasons. They cry for other reasons.
Yeah, of course. But like, how many times have I had somatic responses where you're like, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? I'm like, I have no idea. But all I know is that I'm having something move through me, and I just need to let it move through me. It's not good or bad.
And let's clarify, there's something else you don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm going through it. You need to fuck off and let me have my space. Actually,
or sometimes I'm like, just rub my back.
Yeah. You don't always say that, but that's often been implied. And I'll tell you the challenge for me when you do that is my partner is going through something. And of course, I want to caretake you. Maybe a little over the top, but I've learned over the years, do you want me to be here or do you want me to fuck off? Like, I will now ask because more often than not, you're like, give me my space. I'm like, I'm going to go to the opposite. I'm out. Bye. And then you come in smiling 10, 20, 30, 2 hours later, and life is better because I didn't impede it and I didn't put myself on it. And I think a lot of partners, I mean, that was hard one for us. That was a challenge for me because I just like want to give. I wonder where my kids get it. But that's something that I think people need to recognize is, A, I'm having an experience that isn't related to you, and then the other person needs to realize this is their experience, and if they want me involved, they need to be able to tell me. And if they, that's a conversation that needs to happen.
Well, and I think another part of that comes back to, for a while, I had no idea what I needed. And so I couldn't voice that to you. And I feel like that, because you were getting frustrated because you were trying to help me, but I didn't know how to tell you what I needed. And sometimes I don't know what I need still, but other times I'm like, touch this spot, do this, do that. And I get super bossy.
Oh, yeah.
Like the only child that I am.
Well, and that's very similar to what the grandkids do, especially little Kendall. Kendall Kazan, love you. But
Kendall Jade Kazan.
Well, yeah, but Kazan is Arabic for tank, and so anyways, like when she's in that, she's like, don't, like, her shoe came off that one time, and she's like, I can't do it. We're like, try, undo it, take it. Like, we just had to direct her, and then she's like, she was trying to direct us. I'm like, dude, you're 5, CTF, calm the fuck out, down, right? Like, chill out. But that bossy, there's something inherent about being in that mode and not being able to communicate. Now, she can use her words better than before, obviously, but you as an adult, you can use your words, but you still don't know what words to use. How can we expect kids to do that?
Right, exactly.
So how do we teach parents to give them that space? Or how do we...
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think it comes down to them learning how to regulate their own system, whether on their own, with their partners. So then it's easier for them to regulate with their kids, and allowing the big emotions, the good emotions, the bad emotions. Because I feel like so many people, we live in a society of toxic positivity.
That's what you were saying before, yeah.
Yeah, where people are like, well, we can only feel the good emotions. We can't feel the bad emotions. But to have that spectrum is so beautiful. Like the other day in Network Chiropractic, and I shout out to Dr. Ben, you're amazing. Just to have that experience of, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. It's just energy moving through my body. And when I can just let it move through, it's not as triggering as if I try to hold on to it and I'm like, ooh, I don't want anybody to see this or experience this kind of situation.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's kind of, this is the first time I spoke about the name of the channel. The name of the channel is Diamonds from Demons, and that was triggered from a song that I had in ceremony during ayahuasca. And it talks about the good and the bad, the light and the dark. We are all of it. We need all of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that came from. But it's interesting because let me finish the thought on the Diamonds from Demons is also kind of political, which we kind of talk about. Some political stuff on here is there's some really hardcore, nasty shit going on. And if we just look at it as a negative, we miss the potential upside. Like, it's hard to sometimes see the positive, but if we take a long enough time frame, we can see the diamonds we get from the demonic bullshit. And so it's a little combination of both, of like seeing the long term as well as doing the work to accept both for ourselves and for others. And I think that's the challenge, is accepting that for others. I mean, obviously, like you said, we have to do it for ourselves. Our friend Tara just reached out and said hi to us, checked on us because we've had rain. People are dying. And she's like, are you guys alive? Yeah, we're fine. Thank you. We appreciate you. But
she wasn't asking if we were alive. She was just asking.
She was checking in. We appreciate that. But one of the things, she's a really great ADHD coach. And the times I've talked to her, and I'm by no means an expert, but I'm going to just say the thing that she does better than anything else I've ever seen is convince the parents or help the parents see that the kid's not the problem. It's the parent.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just ADHD. Like, that's everything. Like,
yeah.
And now, granted, there are some kids who are just absolutely horrible human beings, and they're demonic, like Barron, insider trading, $80 million. What a douche. But if he had a soul, he wouldn't. But the idea is that most kids are not to blame at a certain age. Like, and what we tell our kids is, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
So now my question to you, having spouted all of that, is how do adult humans start to take responsibility and do this work? Like, what does that work look like?
I mean, I think first of all is literally sitting down and being completely truthful of where you are at and what triggers you, where your strengths are. Because again, like with this, we don't have to look at all the bad. We want to look at the good as well. And how often do you ask somebody, like, I know this from interviewing people, of like, what's your strength? And they are at a loss. So many people don't even pay attention to their strengths so much. They're so hard on themselves for all of the things that they do wrong. And so looking at both sides of that, of what
she said hard on. Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
He was bound to speak up eventually. Go on. People are hard on themselves.
Yeah, people are hard on themselves and so critical. And I speak this from my own experience. And so it's looking at your strengths and your weaknesses, and where do your kids trigger you? Because where your kids trigger you is where you get to do the work. Because I don't have biological kids, but I have 3 amazing kids and they trigger the fuck out of me sometimes for all different reasons. And when I look at the deeper experiences behind those, I go, oh, there's something for me to learn here. And when I go through that process of what is the belief in me that is contributing to me having a feeling about this, then that is where I'm able to grow. And when I no longer feel triggered by it, that's when I know I've moved on and past it.
Okay, so break that down. How do you identify it, and what does that work look like? And I mean, I get how you know you've done it, but like, get nitty gritty. Tell me how you would.
I mean, well, because I do so many different modalities, but usually it's around. I'm trying to think of an example.
I would say most of your work is around beliefs.
It's mostly around beliefs, yeah. So basically, I did training through Discover Healing for emotion code, body code, and belief code. And all of them are potent in their own way. But the most potent, I feel like, is the belief code. And so when I do have something come up, for example, I'm getting triggered because of I'm not getting enough attention, I'll ask
Hence the podcast.
I'll ask my body, which this goes even deeper into muscle testing and kinesiology.
Well, don't go super granular. We'll dig deeper though. So you check in with your body.
I check in with my body. Okay, there's a belief. How many beliefs are within this belief system? Sometimes it's just one. I've had as many as like 20 sub-beliefs within this bigger belief. And so then I just start going through and clearing them out.
Okay, so I'm going to put this in layman's terms because I know your language and I know you're saying, check in with yourself and identify what you're thinking, why you're thinking it, and somewhere in there is the concatenation of a belief. Meaning, like, I have this belief because I think this way, I feel this way, I was raised this way, had this experience. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
And you identify that through your modality of muscle testing and some other things. It's a very somatic thing, but...
And it's based on your subconscious. Because I forget the statistics.
About what?
The subconscious, only like 5% of it we're actually using. Or like the conscious, we're only using like 5%, and then like 95% of it is.
There's a lot of talk about how only 5 to 10% of our decisions are conscious. Everything else is driven from the unconscious or the subconscious. I disagree with that in general. Like, there's so much to be said for. I mean, you could frame it any way you want because everything that we decide on is based on previous knowledge, and that is all memory, and that's part of our unconscious. Like, I could statistic this and say any number and justify it, but if I'm hearing you, what you're saying is there's so many patterns that unless we look directly at it and we ask ourselves, what am I experiencing? Unless we do that, it's a shot in the dark, and it's just programs that we may or may not know.
Right, exactly. And because how many people just drive to work and not even remember the drive at all? Like, you're just on autopilot. So how much of your life are you on autopilot? And how often are you making decisions or acting from a place of being on autopilot? And then that goes into a whole nother aspect of, have you been living a majority of your life in a survival response in the fight, flight, or freeze?
Well, let's not go there just yet. Let's stay here on we can jump that shark in a minute. But, okay, so you're saying in order to clear out these, we have to identify the belief, and then how does a John Q. public, how does a general person deal with it? If say they're able to identify, oh my God, I should have been treated this way by my partner because of the way I was raised. I see that. Like, partner didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but I felt like they should have done this because of how I blah, blah, blah. Say they have that in their hand now.
I feel like journaling and writing about it can be super potent. And then if you're like, oh, I know this is the belief, you can write it down, burn the paper, throw it in the trash. You can also go to a practitioner such as myself who does belief code or...
Link below. Yeah, okay. But is there some, like, let's say that somebody wants to try this on their own. What would be, like, write it down, burn it?
Yeah, I would say the journaling aspect of it, and even just the breathing, feeling in your body of, oh, where do I feel this? Where does this reside? And then just being with that, and then as you can feel the shift of it moving or clearing out. But not a lot of people, I don't want to say not a lot of people, because I work with a lot of people that once you guide them in that way, they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. I can feel it in my system. I can feel it move. I can feel the transformation happening.
Okay, so it's conscious awareness and then physical awareness.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to throw a monkey wrench at you. There's somebody near and dear to you that when you say, where do you feel it in your body? I respond, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't have that set of language regarding feelings in my body when it comes to, oh, I'm angry. Where do you feel it? I don't, that's not a language I know. So how would you help somebody besides me identify, how would you get somebody, like, assume it's not me, coach me through in just like a minute or two of how do you take identifying a feeling into a more somatic experience so that they can then work towards clearing it. Because my guess is if you can't identify where it is, it's hard to remove it. It's a very NLP concept.
Yeah.
But
I mean, another aspect is, what are you experiencing right now? It may be that the person is checking out, or...
I'm sorry, what?
Exactly.
That was just set up perfectly. Go on.
Yeah, this is what I deal with.
Okay, so if they're checking out, it could be another number of responses.
Right, it could be like another block that's preventing that person from experiencing that. You can move or dance. You can paint. You can write. You could, like, if it's something around anger, you could maybe punch a pillow.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say
you can
is,
do some breath work.
I'm hearing you say, express it.
Yeah.
Like,
Fine.
go from...
Connect with it in some way.
Okay.
And it's not everybody's the same, right? So it's finding what works for you and how you can express it and connect with it.
So I'm going to ask you a question then.
Yeah.
I totally agree that it's not the same for everybody, because if that were the case, then you and I wouldn't be at odds when you go, where do you feel it? And I mean, I don't fucking feel it. But since people are not there, I'm assuming that the protocol, and you have a bunch of different modalities that you studied and are a practitioner in, because it's never the same for any two people. It's never even the same for your own self.
Yeah,
so,
it shifts and changes.
So if I'm hearing you right, the way to trigger healing within yourself is to, like we said, identify and then experience it enough so that you can then express, and I said express before, but I'm trying to think if there's another word. Like you said, journal or paint or dance or move or scream, or we have this exercise where we grab wrists when we're just literally two hands.
Yeah.
You can squeeze as hard as you want here and it won't go. So grab and scream is a great thing. I'm not a doctor, don't grab and scream. Check with a medical professional. But so once it's expressed, what then? Is that like...
I feel like there's an integration around that, right? It's speaking with your partner about it. Because how many times have I been like, I don't know what's going on. Something's going on. And it takes me a week, 2 weeks, 9 months, whatever. And then I finally am able to explain what I've been going through or what I've been experiencing. And sometimes you don't even know what you've been going through. You're just like, oh, I feel different. But I feel like that integration, because so often, and I do this myself, is I'm just constantly moving through stuff and going through, and I don't take the time to stop and have that integration. And it might just be as simple as just sitting in the chair and experiencing what your body is experiencing now. Maybe you feel greater calm. Maybe all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I can start to feel stuff in my system.
So with that step, so we've got, it's like an acknowledgement. What you're saying is like, okay, now I've expressed it. and then acknowledge any changes. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and if it was because your kid triggered you or your spouse or partner triggered you, having those conversations of, hey, this is what I noticed was happening and this is what I've moved through.
And okay, so here's the $1 million question. What's the expectation for in a healthy relationship for the other side? Like you said, if it's been 9 months for you, I'm sitting on this side of that fence. Like, we've had a lot of conversations about having conversations, and sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And she's over there doing her work, but is there, you had something, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you're probably the most grounded, compassionate, kind-hearted person to hold the space for me to go through the experience that I have gone through. I don't know that a lot of people would potentially be in the space that you've been able to hold, because I can only imagine how triggering it is, because it also brings up stuff for you as well, right? But I think we both recognize that there's something greater at play, and so having that openness and that willingness to explore, and we've learned a lot over the last 8+ years of being together, of like what works, what doesn't work. And so I think when it ultimately comes down to what is yours, what is mine, and giving each other the space. I feel like in the first couple of years, we didn't even live together. And
Right.
So we had plenty of space apart. And I don't know that our relationship would have survived if we had lived together. Like,
Right out of the bat.
Yeah, because
right out of the gate.
I feel like we both needed that space to process a lot of stuff, and we would come together. I know for me, it would trigger some stuff, and then I would go out on my own and process it. But like then COVID happened, and like now we live together, and so now there's not as much spaciousness, and my response is always to run away.
What?
And so.
And when she says run away, she, from my experience, it's you need more space than you currently have, physically, emotionally, spiritually, ecumenically, whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes it's just going in a different room now, and like going in my meditation room and having that space.
And sometimes it's going cross country by yourself.
Yeah. Well.
But
yeah, it's. I feel like it's a different kind of relationship. It's a very spiritual based relationship in the aspect of kind of letting our egos fall away and not being offended when we are in the heat of having those big experiences. Because, I mean, we don't necessarily fight. We definitely have disagreements of who's better at playing 5 crowns.
Now she's going to throw card games at me? Damn.
No, that was just for jokes. But
well, I think that there's something, I think this goes back to the concept of this channel in general, which is something we have talked about in a multitude of ways, which is if you trigger me, then I have 2 choices. I can point my finger at you and go, how fucking dare you, and call you names, and I can just take it out on you, which is certainly going to bring us closer together.
Totally.
Or I can look at the other fingers and go, okay, why does this trigger me? What is the demon I'm fighting? Because you're a diamond. If I assume the best I try and assume the best in everybody. I'm a human and I have my issues, so not everybody's the best. You know who you are. That if I assume the best of you, I still have my shit to work through. Like when you want to go take space, I have abandonment feelings. Like I've been left places before. Just all standard like things that I think most humans have. But if they get triggered and I do the work, meaning I identify it, I sit with it, and then I recognize what it is, and I don't do as much somatic work as you do, but I go, okay, I do my intellectual version of it, which is she needs some space. It has nothing to do with me. I'm going to go drum, or I'm going to go work on the computer. I'm going to go fuck off, and whatever I'm going to do, like giving you that space, I get the diamonds by facing those demons and not just giving into the woe is me of it all.
The victimhood. I feel like victimhood plays a lot into relationships. But it's fully taking responsibility. So if you take responsibility in your relationships, it extends out into the world as well. I mean, how many times have we seen people that are just like victim blaming?
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have a leader in orange that does that.
I mean, ultimately, we have to take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, we have to take not just responsibility for ourselves, but I've seen you do a lot of work. I've witnessed when you work with your clients.
You may have said that I do too much.
I didn't say that now. What I was going to say was with the clients you work with, just from what, and I don't know the specifics because you're very good about keeping your clients and your work information, but I see how you interact with people, is that accepting responsibility for themselves is like at the core of this, not just for them, but for us. Like, why am I triggered? Why am I having this response? Why do I feel this way? I don't have feelings, but if I did, why would I be feeling that way? And there seems to be something, I don't want to say magical, but I think it's almost mystical about looking at this from, it's the desire to self-improve. Like,
yeah,
I'm reminded of when I was sitting in Starbucks, this was years ago, and there was a young couple who was clearly trying to get married, and they were meeting with their potential preacher. And they sat down, and I was like 2 tables away, and so I just eavesdropped. I have no doubt about that. Because I'm a preacher, I've married people, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, I get to watch this. And as a minister, I was watching him do his thing, and he was asking some basic-ass questions. And the young lady was excited, and the young man could not have given 2 shits. And the minister, preacher, whatever his title was, he was like asking the questions like, okay, well, what the standard, when, where, what. And then he's like, so why do you guys want to get married? And she said something sweet and endearing, and he's like, figured I should. And the guy looked at him, and then he's like, okay, I got to ask a deeper question. I saw his brain going, and he asked him something else, and the guy was like, yeah, I don't really know. And the preacher just closed up his book, sat up and said, I'm not the one for you. I wish you the best of luck. Got up and walked out. And the look on that girl's face was devastation. But that preacher was giving that gift of, pay attention.
Yeah.
Here's a huge sign that this guy does not care about what we're doing. I won't be party to joining you if there's this massive disconnect. And that, I think a lot of the work that you do is helping people recognize where they're disconnected from the things they truly want. I don't know how many times you've told me, and not details, but, this person is doing this and they need to get their head on straight. Like, clients I've had too of, they do the same thing and yet they expect a different result.
Right.
And it's not taking responsibility of, if you want something different, you have to do something different. Yeah. Which is, a lot of times, just care enough about yourself to not be a shit player.
Well, but then that goes back to the childhood thing.
Does it?
Yeah,
How
100%. So? Because depending on the family that they grew up in and what they experienced in relationship, that may seem normal. Like, there's been multiple times where people have been in relationships that mirrored a form of one of their parents or their parents' relationship, and they never saw that.
Okay, I will accept that on the surface, but my then question to you is, when they come to you, because we did a group session with one of your clients, we did a 4-way group with both of them and both of us. So that's the only reason I know about this client is because I got some inside information because I participated in a session. The people who are doing this kind of work have to at least have the vague idea that they want to be better.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to self-development without wanting to get better. They may not recognize what it's going to take or what they really want, but there's got to be okay, I want something else.
Yeah, 100%. And this from my own experience of just most recently with network care, I realized how much I've been living in a state of survival. And that, like, oh, wait, yeah, I want these things, but my nervous system was not prepared. I did not have the capacity to be able to hold those things.
So, what do you mean say things? Such as, what kind of things did you want to hold? I have some things. Go on, what kind of things?
Just like financial and health-wise. Like the rheumatoid arthritis has been keeping me safe and supported. And
Explain that. That doesn't make any sense to those who, like, rheumatoid arthritis keeps you safe?
Yeah.
Explain.
Because I don't ever have to, like, I can always use that as an excuse.
There you go.
Of like, oh, well, I'm in pain today, or I'm tired, or this or that. Like, I don't have to fully step into my potential. And also, it's what I've known for the last 18 years. Like, thinking about what my body would feel like waking up in the morning and not being in pain is like, what would that actually feel like?
So when you say it's keeping you safe from what? Doing the work, feeling better, like
Yeah, I mean, it's just like people who stay in abusive relationships. It's the exact same thing. There's safety in the known.
I want to challenge that word. I don't think it's safety. I think it's comfort.
Okay, yes.
Because I don't think it's safe.
You and I have had this conversation, yes.
Well, we're having it again.
It's the comfort of it.
Because the reason that I like to use the word comfort is because it's uncomfortable to approach the unknown, right. Especially if we're talking about self-development and expanding past where we are, becoming something that we haven't become. The idea is very uncomfortable. Like this channel, like I have been trying to create content and do this, and it's so fucking uncomfortable. And the first 100 are gonna suck. And I'm like, all right, so we've heard this before, embrace the suck and do it. But when we're talking about something like a physical ailment such as rheumatoid arthritis, which you still identify with when, I identify as a brown person, whatever. But it doesn't keep you safe. It keeps your emotions safe. It keeps your discomfort safe. It keeps the pain safe.
Well,
because you don't know what other pain there might be by doing whatever else it is, right? Is that that's why I call it comfort rather than safety.
Yeah, in some ways. And it's also like I don't want to say toxicity, but the constant stress hormones that are being produced from like the anxiety, I guess, maybe of it all, of like having that low grade anxiety that I didn't even realize that I had. And just recognizing, oh, this is something that has been going on in my system, and like, okay, I'm ready to like move through this, and I'm gaining that capacity to process through. But like every time, I don't know if you've noticed this, whenever I have like big breakthroughs, like the day or two after it, I feel like shit.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
This is how I know you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, there's like that ebb and flow of, but
there's an ebb and a flow.
Yeah.
How do you mean? You have a breakthrough and then you don't feel it.
Yeah, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing.
Okay. I guess the question is it worth it?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm ultimately moving forward. Like looking at where I was 20 years ago to where I am now, like holy fuck.
I mean, I can say 8 years ago, holy fuck, you're so much further along.
Yeah, like I don't know if people would necessarily recognize who I am. Like at my core, yeah, I'm still who I am, but also like I feel like I have an immense amount of compassion for like everyone, even people who are shitty.
Sometimes you do.
And
we all have our moments. We balance each other out on that. Sometimes you yell at me not yell at me, but you reprimand me to be more compassionate. And sometimes I come out with compassion. You're like, where the fuck is this coming from?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
fun. So you think that, well, how does compassion play into your healing journey?
Having compassion for myself.
Do we?
Because again, coming back to like being super hard on myself. And I feel like sometimes in our relationship, like we're mirrors for each other, right?
That's what we say.
And I'm super hard on you, which is a representation of me being super hard on myself.
Oh no, it's getting serious.
Fuck, he's gonna make me cry.
You were talking. Well, back to the idea of being, that's why we keep the tissues handy.
We go through a lot of tissues in this house.
Sometimes I get lonely. The idea of being a mirror for each other, that's what she said. Stop it, monkey boy. I think that's how we have thrived and done so well is very early on we recognized that we were mirrors. We played that game and we still do. And when I say play the game, I mean we recognize if I'm mad at you, it's on me. There's something about me, and we have the cutting board story, which I haven't heard it. I had one of my really nice knives, and she used it on a glass cutting board, and I'm like, I don't know why I have a glass cutting board, but she was cutting stuff, and I'm like, that was pissing me off. I'm like, but why would, I went inside, I'm like, what if I were to just ask her, hey, could you just use that on a plastic or a wood cutting board? And she was like, yeah, no problem. And I was like,
I never realized that this was a thing until
I brought it up.
we like had, no, but even like when
the
you brought it up, like it wasn't a big deal for me at all. I was just like, whatever. And then like years later, you shared that
for
story.
me, it was here, and you're like, it was a small request.
Like,
and
I don't even remember it barely happening. And you're like, you share that story all the time. And I love it because it goes to exactly like.
It goes to the point of being a mirror for your partner, for everybody, not just your partner, but my kids when they trigger me.
Never.
Oh, fuck. Tank Jr. is Tank Jr. And man, he gets mad at me for how I debate. And I love him. And my daughters, like, they have their things that I just, like, when it rubs me the wrong way, I'm like, God damn it, that's where I have to get better. And I think it's a mindset to start with of desiring to get better. And then we have all these different modalities that we use. But I think that one at its core is really, maybe that's what we'll call this episode, is the mirror effect. Like, when you get triggered by anything external, know that there is no external. It is you that is being triggered by your own self. And
that alone is going to trigger people.
It's going to trigger people?
Oh, yeah. Because you can no longer be the victim. You have to take responsibility.
Explain. Say more.
When you're always looking internally, you can no longer blame the external world for your woes. You have to take responsibility.
Gotcha. So if you play the mirror game, meaning anything that upsets you is yours to deal with, maybe not your fault, but definitely your responsibility.
Yeah. Excuse me.
It's really hard. I see what you're saying. It's hard to play the victim, and therefore you get out of victim mentality and you move into at cause versus at effect, where you're creating your life rather than being a victim of it.
Right.
And again, this comes back to some NLP principles and some other things, but yeah, I would say I think that's how we have some longevity, and I think that's how we navigate when things could get dark and ugly. But I also think that it's not fucking easy.
No, not at all.
It takes effort. But the cool thing for me, the reason that I like the mirror effect so much is that if I play it honestly, then you never are a problem in my world. And I can't tell, like, there's so many comedians and there's so many stories and there's so many relationships. And I did divorces for a couple of years. I've also did weddings. But, like, there's just an immense amount of power when you can look at your partner and go, you're nothing but good in my world. And if I'm honest, now I don't do that blindly because I look to you and go, fucking use my cutting board, whatever. whatever the situation may be, then I do the exercise. I don't do it blindly. I look at myself and go, oh no, that's me. And if I want something, all I had to do was ask. And you were so gracious, and like, it didn't register but a blip on your radar. But for me, it was like, if we do those kind of exercises for ourselves, now if something came up, and as a great example.
Dishes?
No, not the dishes. Like, you called me the other day and you were like, by the way, if you look at my phone and you see this dating app on here, it's because I was looking it up for your daughter. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm like, if I were to see a dating app on your phone, I would think you were looking it up for something, like you were checking somebody, you were researching somebody, not trying to find another I wouldn't think that. So when you called me, I was like, okay. And then I realized why you did that, because it, like, I honestly, had I found that, I've had that happen in the past, and it might have triggered me in a way, and I would have been like, what the fuck is it? But in the first moment, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, it wasn't an issue. And then I'm like, oh, that's cute, because we've done the work. Like, I didn't have to worry about that. So I think desire of wanting to be better is at the core. Then you've talked earlier about the steps on how to do that for oneself, working through that, avoiding passing that trauma down to others by being the mirror for yourself. Is there anything else you want to heal the people with?
I feel like if you're triggered by this and the whole responsibility aspect of this, it's probably really great that you watched this. And though there's no shame, there's no guilt, but just start to notice
and
areas where...
I want to say this. Let's expand that for just a little bit. If you watched that and thought, yeah, but these people do these things, that's a clear indication that you're not playing this game. And it's not that you have to, but if you want to be better, taking full level of authority and full level of accountability and responsibility for yourself, you can't help but get better. It might not be easy. Let me reframe. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it.
Yeah, because on the other side, it's always better. I mean, I am so grateful for all of my amazing friends who were always like, what's up in your world? And having these honest conversations of like, well, I was triggered by this. I'm going through this. I moved through that. And I succeeded in this, but this is coming up for me. And just having those deeper conversations of we're constantly growing and seeing how we can move through those patterns that maybe we didn't think we could move through, that we didn't even realize were there, because once you peel away one layer of the onion, the next layer appears and you're like, oh my God, I thought I handled this. But it's a deeper level because you're now ready to handle it.
Parfaits have layers.
Yes, they're tasty. And so if you're watching this,
parfaits might be the most delicious thing on the face of the planet. So
it might be the universe going, knock, knock, knock.
Or it could be an onion. Onions have layers. It's from Shrek. I'm doing Shrek stuff. You're talking really serious stuff, and this is how I maintain my sanity.
This is how it used to be all the time with, like, I was like, I just want to have emotions. And he's like, no, you're fine. Like, it's okay. Let me crack a joke. And I'm like, let me have my emotion. Now we can do that. It's taken some training.
But I still got to get my jokes out.
I know.
But that's why
I appreciate it.
Well, that's why I've learned, like, when you want your emotions, I'm like, great, I back the fuck up and go joke with myself. I'm going to go in the office and get online and say some funny shit. Or funny to me. You don't have to laugh. Laugh, damn it. Cool. So we've solved all the world's problems?
Totally.
Anything else you want
to...
to...
Take responsibility, yo.
Take responsibility for yourself. If you need help walking through these steps, Miss Elisha does do sessions, and she does them remotely, which is cool.
Yeah, I work with people all around the world.
She literally does. She works with divorced people, people who've lost partners. She's worked with attorneys and
baseball players.
Baseball players trying to go pro. Like, there are a countless...
It's a huge range.
There's just a countless number of ways that this can benefit you personally. If you're into self-improvement and self-development. If you are just watching this because she's pretty, just give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That's fine. Any final words from you? Those are my final words.
Is Monkey Boy going to come out and say hi? I feel as if just having compassion and knowing that where you're getting triggered by somebody else is, even though it seems like you've done the work on it again and again, there's probably something still there for you to work on. And just know that this isn't ever ending. This is like a lifelong journey that is probably the most beautiful and amazing contribution that you can make to the world of doing your work, because it reflects out into the external world.
Love it.
And you're leaving the world a little bit brighter.
And on that note, share, like, and subscribe.